Pastor Jack Hayford here. I'm in my office at the King's University. I wish you could see the view of the mountains right now. In the winter here in Southern California, you can tell it, but we have very little snow. Sometimes there'll be some on the caps out there. I also wish I could be with you to see a scene, because I presume and certainly hope you do. Make the trip to Israel, though I will not be able to join you. I don't want anyone to think there's any duplicity in my decision, anything other than this was a complete surprise to me of how I would come through a series of physical trials from which I'm all well. But at my age now, as Anna and I are both in at our 80s, I know the wisdom, especially by reason of a recent fall I had, which I broke my hand, a second of 2 falls I've had in the last 2 years, that my steadiness on my feet is not the same. And that does not mean if you're old or older, whichever term you use, that you need to hesitate going to Israel, because you can make choices as to the few places that would be wiser for you to be a bit at a distance and see it, or to stay on the bus and hear of it and have people take pictures for you. But that is very rare. But those are things that the leader of the group can never do. You have to be there. And there's enough of some unevenness of places that we go, not to mention places where caution always is the wisest. And I've learned at this time of my life, I just don't always pick my feet up like I need to. I don't know if 80 years of work has made me just lazy of the feet, but I'm learning anyway. But the relative absence of any wisdom for me to make any trips now of leading to Israel is a decision that I've made just recently and felt real confirmation from the Lord. This explanation to you is not only to tell you and express my deep apologies and my gratitude for your trust and desire to make the trip with me, if in fact that was a part of your reason to choose this one with Inspiration Tours and Cruises. But Inspiration is a partner I've used for years. I urge you to go ahead and follow through. First, the partner that they send with the leader of the tour is a person that you grow to recognize they solve any problem you can imagine coming up on a tour and is already there. I think that David Peterson will be with you. He usually has been in my tours, and I expect that Dave will be with you this one. You will just love this guy and be grateful for him. But mostly I want to let you know and introduce you to Jeff Seif. Jeffrey Seif is a man with a doctoral preparation. He's a man of accomplished scholarship, a very warm brother, a strong teacher, a member of the faculty, both at Christ for the Nations in Dallas, Texas, and with the King's University based in Dallas and in Los Angeles. Jeffrey is a Messianic Jew. That means he's a man who's born and raised a Jew, and came to know Jesus as Messiah many years ago, and lives out his witness for Christ as a trained man, a rabbi, and one who is influencing in many ways, including translation work that's being touched, that's touching so many in the broader global Jewish community. So Jeff has led many tours to Israel. Can you imagine having a Messianic Jew, a guy that's been to Israel many times, led as many as two or three buses at a time? And he can, if you can handle a group like that, you can handle any size team. So I tell you, I'm delighted Jeff has consented to take the trip. In fact, can you believe he said, Pastor Jack, be an honor to do it for you. I'm honored he would do it. I want you to enjoy Jeff, and again say that I regret that I will not be with you on this trip. Let me say frankly and candidly, I have made my last trip to Israel to lead a tour. I will probably go to the altars where Jeff will lead you, altars that I, with those traveling with me over the last 10 years, have built, and you contribute to the building. And we intercede and pray for Israel at each of those places, north, east, south, and west, at locations. Those altars have become a mound of stones as high as my waist in some places, depending on the size of stones. There have been over 1,000 that have traveled with me in those last 10 years. And in that time, there are these places of saying, God, let your defenses be around this nation until the mission of your purpose in this ancient people of yours, the Jews, is fulfilled in the land that bears your name. For you said, Israel, which is the L part, is the name of the Lord, and Israel, which is his land, and he claims it in Scripture numerous times. He said, this is my land. You're going to go to his land, and you're going to go led with Jeffrey Seif, who is one of his people. Of course, we all are when we're born again, but to have a Jewish leader is to have a guy who is not just for the reason of his ethnicity and spiritual background, wonderful man to know and to have leading, but a man who has broad experience, depth of scholarly ability, has traveled there many times, and who I am pleased that the Lord has provided to take my place as I must bow out. I want to say it again. I have made my last trip to Israel. I will probably, for a day flying there, a day, probably a day and a half, going to the 4 altars that the Lord moved me to build back in 2001 when the crisis took place internationally and politically. I will go back, fly to Israel, have my 2 guides assist me, so I just know I'm at this time not doddering off into the fog someplace. And as I go to those sites to worship the Lord and to intercede and do that, it will take a day to make the tour when you're not doing these stops in the middle of a tour, and then return home. Once a year I'm going to go that way. To just go, I'll probably take 1 or 2 people with me. And so my touring days are over in Israel. This would have been our 41st. So I've been there to Israel 40 times, taken thousands of people. Sorry that I'm not, you're not in that list, but you can be a part of those that have joined with me of the 1,000 or so that are those that are building a prayer wall of defense in the name of the living God and his Son, Jesus Christ, the Messiah, around that land as God moves mightily in that land in this era. So it's a great prophetic study, a great Bible study, a great geographic and history study, and it's for you with inspiration under the leadership of Jeff Seif. God bless you. Thank you for your friendship, and may everything of your trip be as fulfilling as I've only hinted at, because it takes a lot to say anymore.